welcome to another sweet, sultry, seductive episode of the Flickin' Reel Fancast. Hey guys, how you doing today? As you can see, I need some caffeine. It's been a morning. If it looks like I rolled right out of bed, it's because I literally did. So this is just the kind of effort I put in for you guys. Hopefully you appreciate it so much. In the middle of doing some big upgrades to the channel. So this will probably be the last boring vanilla layout that you see because after we stream today, I am going to work. So look forward to that. But anyways, if you're new to the channel, welcome to Flickin' Reel, your friendly neighborhood fan cast. We are your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. I am your host, Jesse Swift, accompanied as always by Scott Fox. Wait a minute. You're not Scott?
I'm not Scott.
That's okay. We'll just call him Mulligan on this one. I don't got time to figure anything else out. So how's it going? Today, Mr. Beyblade, the one, the only, Sean Wingblade.
Do I have to change my name to Beyblade? Let me do
it. You absolutely do.
Every time.
You absolutely do.
Forever known as Beyblade from now on.
All right, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. I got my coffee because I woke up early because you know how you know you don't have kids? Because you got to sleep in.
It's like a kid though. The reason I slept in is because I got. Look, I think you can see a layer of bag under this eye. You see that? You could say I woke up early because I woke up at 3, and then 4, and then 5:30, and then 8:30. So yeah, I finally fell asleep and I slept past like when I was supposed to. So it's unfortunate. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining. Big day today. This is the first time we're streaming on Facebook. So Sean is here for a premiere event. Facebook. That's exciting because apparently when you throw some money at StreamYards, they're like, oh, do you want to stream to multiple locations? And I'm like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, sure. Why not? You get all the links.
That's right. All the links. Just like Brandy Parker, if she's here or here at any point in time, just all the power, all the mod power.
Brandy has a massive spreadsheet, I'm sure, with all of the links to every channel in the Schmoverse.
Sylvia? She got the Pepe Sylvia chart, and it's just like all these links to different channels.
She'll show someone her secrets.
Before we dive into topics, we do have a message for fans, new and old. We really want to grow this channel and devote more time and energy into making informative and entertaining content, and this can be achieved most simply by taking a second to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Just make sure to hit that bell icon so you never miss a new upload. Don't hit it twice, though, because I'll deactivate it. So be better. Sure. Secondly, our dream does not stop at 100 subscribers, which we did pass recently. We had a big old party, and Sean was part of that, and that was awesome. Is my internet still coming through? Okay.
You're a little choppy, but I can hear you.
That's fine. That's all that's important. Usually I reset the router, and I didn't get to. But yeah, our dream does not stop at 100 subscribers. Podcasting is indeed what we love to do, and we'd love to invest more time into this channel. And you at home can help by visiting Streamlabs or submitting super chats on YouTube. Your donations, that's a new word. Your donations will help immensely with building this channel into a geek-speaking utopia. Great. So with that out of the way, we can dive into our topics. The first one that I have here is very close to me. I should have pulled out some comic books. I listed this one off first because it's probably the smallest announcement of the 3, but the one I'm also most excited for. So, Sean, do you have those in front of you, the order that I had them?
Yeah. The Injustice one first?
Yeah. What's our first topic?
So let me see exactly what your verbiage was when you wrote it up. So after their success with Batman the Long Haul, you're just throwing it to me. It's called, we'll wing it.
This is practice.
Absolutely. So they did the Long Halloween last year, and DC is jumping into the Injustice movie, and I guess it's confirmed that it's going to be animated.
Yes, so where this was found was the special features, I believe, for Long Halloween Part 1 that's coming out next month. They were listing special features and a special look at our next animated feature, like after Long Halloween Part 2, and it's an Injustice animated film.
Okay, right. So in finding that out. In Long Halloween Part 2 is when you're actually gonna get the behind the scenes look at the next movie. So they're jumping over to Injustice. So I pulled up the article. We're at comicbook.com, and they're possibly going to be based off of the storyline from the first game, but then it could bring in elements of the comic itself. I'm not familiar with the comic. I've seen bits and pieces of the animatics from the game, but I never actually played it. Was the comic written based off the book or based off the game?
So it was when, like, I think it was about 3-4 weeks before the first game came out, they started the comic series. Are you familiar with the story of the game?
Yeah. Basically, Joker tricks Superman into, I don't know if we want to go into spoilers for it, but
well, it's like the first couple pages of the comic or the first like 5 minutes of the game. But I mean, yeah, in short, Joker tricks Superman into killing Lois, who's pregnant with his son, whose heart is connected to a nuclear bomb under Metropolis. So he kills his son, his wife, and all of Metropolis in one fell swoop. And I think that would make most.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah,
I didn't know that part. I only knew about Lois. I read this morning about his son. I didn't know that he also blew up his city too. It's a little much.
It is. And thank you, Brandy Parker, so much for putting that Streamlabs link down in the bottom. I'm really excited to get into doing more StreamYard stuff, but to do that, we need money, and that's where it comes from. That comes from you guys. Thank you so much for everything you've done thus far in supporting us on a personal level, because there's a big wedding stream, so that was awesome. But yeah, the story is just basically about talk about transitions. It's about what happens when Superman kind of achieves tyrant status. He's like, no more guns. There will be peace. Like, he's like, there's no exceptions. There will be peace on Earth, and I will force it to happen. And you basically get DC's Civil War. But I think, having read the Injustice comics and Civil War, I think Injustice is a better story. Because they did a really good job in the Civil War movie of being like, oh, I mean, they're both kind of right. Like, Tony's kind of right. Cap's kind of right. In the Civil War comics, Tony's an asshole. Like, that's just how it reads. And Superman kind of can be too, but like, it's hard to argue after what happened to him why he wouldn't be like, I have the power to stop all of this. Why would I let it continue? And it becomes a battle. People are like, we can't have this much oversight on the planet. It's a great story. I suggest if any of you have like the DC app, I think most of Injustice is on there. You can find like there's omnibuses online now, because the first omnibus for Injustice is like this thick.
It's huge. Yeah.
And then you get into the second one, because the first one is what happens during the 5 years before the main storyline of the game takes place, because it pretty much shows what happens when Superman finds Joker after that, and then skips ahead 5 years. So this is building what the game's about. And then the second one takes place is pretty much like the year between 1 and 2.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff to pull from. They could straight up follow the story of the game, or I mean, this could be a series. I would love if Injustice was like they made like 3 or 4 of them. There's a lot that you can do with it.
Made its own, because it's an Elseworld. It's an Elseworld type, right? So it could be its own little offshoot of the universe without the main canon of most of the DC animated movies had their own, like there was like 20 movies or something, and they're all technically canon. They're just offshoots. Different characters had their own individual movies until I think Flashpoint, right? Flashpoint, or was it Apocalypse War? One of them finally did reset the universe.
Apocalypse War is supposed to be the last of that, because they were running with New 52 continuity, and as we know, New 52 in comics stopped like 5 years ago, so it didn't make sense for them to really keep going with that. And it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Some of those movies are really good. Some of them are very filler. Yeah. But I've been enjoying it a lot. And I'm really excited for this. Ultimately I wanted a live action movie at some point, but it's difficult to do. And that's one of the hi Matty Gunner. What's up, buddy?
What up, Matty?
It's difficult to bring people on that aren't as well versed into the comics, into this story, because it involves you knowing a lot of things. Like it involves Joker taking advantage of fear toxin, and there's like all this stuff that have to be explained, and it involves like every DC character heavily. So it's hard to just drop somebody into that cinematically. So I think this is the way to do it.
Do you think that they could make a movie add on to the beginning of it and before, like essentially the crux of the movie could be Superman going crazy at the end, and that will lead into an Injustice universe of movies or series of movies. So this could all be a prequel, essentially leading up to, like you said, they don't know about Joker dealing with the fear toxin and all that stuff. Because I didn't know about that. I don't know what led up to the events. I just know that was the inciting incident that caused Superman.
I could do an Injustice podcast, buddy. Like, or at least like an hour and a half. It's so good, dude. Like, I've read a fair amount of comics. I think it's like Injustice and Saga are like the two favorite things I've ever read. Okay. I think a really good idea.
Is Coy behind you?
Yeah. That's why I got drafted. I don't know if I was on. I think it was POV, and Coy was in the chat, and they were asking me like what comics I like. I was like, well, Saga's my favorite, Coy. And the next thing you know, I'm on the Quirky Mercs. So that's how you do that. And then I have a denim jacket with these lovely stitch-ons, courtesy of my lovely wife to be, Miss Lauren. I think kind of taking what you were saying as an option, I think it'd be really cool if they had this movie that kind of like leads up to the crux of like the transition of Superman, and then HBO Max animated show.
Yeah.
That would be, to me, that's the perfect way to do it, because I think you can tell the the initial story within like an hour and a half that sets up why Superman starts making decisions. But as far as the drama and like the war between heroes and stuff, it would be a damn shame if you condense that to like less than 2 hours.
Yeah,
so I think like a 10 episode show would be real cool.
Yeah, if they boil down the entire story, that there's just too much going on. It would be cut short for sure. You'd fail a lot of the characters. What sort of animation style from all of the animated movies, or keep it in the CGI kind of animation that the game had?
I personally, think that's expensive, but I think it would look better. It'd be really cool.
I grew up on Batman the Animated Series and Superman animated Justice League. That's my kind of favorite of the DC, and I think Bruce people Timm. Our age,
right?
What?
Bruce Timm animation.
Yeah, Bruce Timm. Yeah, all the Bruce Timm stuff basically, which coming later. That's my favorite, but I don't not like some of the other ones. Like you could go back to Dark Knight style.
They're talking about animation like Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, the Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. There was a kids where Batman was he had much more like short pointy ears instead of like the tall ones, and I don't remember the name of the show. I think it was after my time. I kind of got out of the
I think that's just called The Batman, wasn't it?
The Batman might be it. Yeah. Do you have a preference, or like I said, the computer CGI like video game style?
If budget was not an issue, I would say if they could recreate, because like you could go online and watch the cutscene movies for Injustice 2, and it's beautiful. It's really, really cool. It looks good. They got Brainiacs involved in that one. The first one's rough. It was on Xbox 360, and it was even rough for Xbox 360.
Okay.
Cutscenes are not great, but the story's still there, and it's good.
Right. Okay.
I would like CG animation, but also at that point, you're kind of just recreating the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you might as well just re-edit the game, I guess. Yeah.
Sometimes it's cool when they take, like with Killing Joke, they tried to take the art and then like give it life.
Okay.
Problem with Injustice is the art's inconsistent. Like several different artists have worked on it, so it doesn't feel like it has a unique style necessarily.
The comic? You're talking about the comic?
Yeah, the comic.
Okay.
So I don't know. I want it to look good. I'm not gonna be really picky. I feel like the DC animated movies that were in like that New 52 universe were like good enough is about the bar that they hit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham movie that they did?
No, I have not seen that one.
I think it's almost anime style, but not quite.
Okay.
I think that's some of the best animation DC's done.
Is that more similar to like the new Harley Quinn show? which I haven't watched the show, but I've seen clips here and there.
Dude, Harley Quinn is absolutely phenomenal. It's a great show. No, it's a little different than that. It really does feels more in line like maybe like Castlevania.
Oh, okay.
Seen any of that? So
yeah.
It feels anime inspired.
Okay.
But you can still tell it's American. And yes. Oh, hey, it's Chris Anthony Lopez. What's up, buddy? Thanks for joining in the chat. So yeah, I mean that's kind of all I have to say. I'm very excited for it. Usually when they announce a DC animated movie, I'm like, all right, cool. Oh, I mean, Long Halloween, I'm excited for too. I read that for the first time during the pandemic. But yeah, we can't take 15 minutes on every topic. I'm just excited about Injustice. I've been wanting this for the first game came out in either 2010 or 2011. So it's been
quite a few years. Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
And does that mean that because it was made by NetherRealm Studios that makes Mortal Kombat?
Okay.
So in the opening, when they're doing logos and stuff, are they going to say like in association with NetherRealm Studios? Because they were involved in the comic making too. I mean, so it'd be cool.
Did they own any of the IP? That will always be the question: is who gets the money? Who's producing it? Who currently owns it? The
comic came from their game technically, even though they're using Warner Brothers DC characters. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not a logistical person.
It says there's a chance it could be an adaptation of the narrative from the first game of Tom Taylor's tie-in Injustice comic, which ran for multiple years. I mean, they have a lot to pull from, so I'm excited. I'm down to watch it.
It's like this thick. Like if I stacked it all up, it's dense.
I've always enjoyed the story, so I'm down for it. I'm ready.
I would love to give you like some spark notes on Injustice at some point because I love that ish. We did bring up Bruce Timm a little bit ago, which is relevant because we have learned that an animated Batman series is in the works from who? Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, and Bruce Timm. And I was going to bring this up earlier, but Bruce Timm has come back a couple times for animated movies. They did one called Justice League Gods and Monsters. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I think I've seen that when it first came out.
It was like...
I could be wrong.
An alternate take if Superman was the son of Zod, Wonder Woman was like a different, more bloodthirsty.
Oh, no.
She was from Apocalypse, I think.
Okay.
Instead of Themyscira. She was like one of the warriors from there. And then Batman was the guy that actually becomes Man-Bat.
Okay.
Like Kurt Lazarus or something like that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he becomes a vampire instead of a bat. And so he becomes a Batman that's a vampire. So like that's your trinity for the Justice League. Anyways. Bruce Timm's animation for me always hits this little thing of nostalgia. Where is it the most detailed animation? No, but it always looks good to me because it always looks like a comic book. So I'm always there for that. Matt Reeves is getting all in with Batman because we know he's doing that Gordon-centric HBO show. He's doing a Batman trilogy. He said he's already like mapped out the story for that. And J.J. Abrams has been brought on to kind of be like, it seems like an overseer of like DC content, especially with like HBO Max.
I don't know what else Abrams has on his docket coming forward. I haven't looked that part up, but I wonder if he's going to essentially become the Feige-ish character in the DC verse. They're doing the new Superman movie, getting rid of Cavill, which that's a whole nother conversation. But I wonder, and along with Reeves, they could launch if they're getting rid of this. If they're edging out of the Snyderverse and into maybe Matt Reeves and start picking him up and going towards, especially if this is from this creator or from their creative vision, it could be this animated series could just be telling backstory to the live action movie universe that they're building as well.
Wouldn't that
so
be
it could
cool? I'd be for that.
Right.
And I like that Matt Reeves said that this Batman movie won't so much be a Batman origin, but it will be a villain origin for characters like Catwoman, Riddler, Penguin, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to. I got a little internet simple thing. Are we doing okay?
I hear you. I see you. Kind of.
Okay. All right.
You look like a transformer, but it's cool. Roll with it.
Robots in disguise. What is the last comic book based animated show that you enjoyed?
Any show? I mean, I just finished Invincible That was fun, and I like the animated style. It reminds you of the 90s. I still watch sparingly, like Flash and Legends and stuff like that, but I'm kind of edging out of. I'm not so done with the story. I love the comic book characters. I'm done with the 24 show season. So I'm just done with that part of it. I want them to condense things down. Give me 8 to 10 episodes, and I'm good with that. Animations, I don't watch a lot of animation, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, other than Invincible, I probably haven't seen another anime. Like I just told you, I haven't seen Harley Quinn. So I'd like to jump into that. If it's I know it's a lot more R-rated. It's not something I can watch. So that's always a matter. No, that's always a matter of time management.
Geo popping in here from Apocalypse.
What's up, Geo?
What's up, buddy?
Yes, yeah, Gio. I do want to see that. I just, I got kids, man. I got maybe if they were 5 to 8, 10 years older,
I can give you some quality recommendations for the kids, for you. That's really great content. If as a family man, you got Disney Plus.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh, check out, if you haven't watched it before, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers show on Disney Plus.
Okay.
To me, it's the best animated Marvel content that exists.
Okay.
And it's one of those things. It reminds me of Bruce Timm animation, where you're like, okay, this animation isn't the best, but the writing and story feels very in line with the comics. They handle a little bit of Civil War elements. They do some like background on like the Kree Skrull War. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. There's an episode where all of the Avengers basically go missing, and so they basically do a West Coast Avengers episode because there's like an initiative in place. It's like, what happens if something happens to the main Avengers? So they bring in Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Thing, and like all these like B-team guys for an episode, and that's a lot of fun. Burned through it with my fiance, and we loved it.
I'm looking at the animation style right now. There's various shows in Disney Plus, but
there's Avengers Assemble, which looks prettier but is garbage.
Okay.
Avengers Assemble is a bad show. That one's like Earth's Mightiest Heroes felt like they weren't pandering to the fans. Avengers Assemble is like, now we're making a kid's show. There's a difference between a cartoon and a kid's show.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what that was. Like Avatar.
The animation reminds me of almost like pop figures, like just the color and the hard lines around the outside.
That's fair. Yeah.
Or like, when you go to the toy aisle in a store and you see you got the normal like action figures, and then you have the kids version of the same exact action figure, whether they're shorter, stubbier, bulkier kind of thing.
Well, there's those ones that I think
that's what it looks like.
I'm trying to remember what they're called. There's the other ones that are like pops. I think they might just be called like vinyls or something. But yeah, it kind of looks like that too. So like I said, honestly, it's a funny thing, especially with superhero animation. It's like the worse the animation, the better the storytelling is. It's always because I feel like the channel or the studio or whatever is not confident in it. Like Wolverine and the X-Men, kind of the same thing. They canceled it after a season. I think it's the best X-Men show that exists because they didn't hold the hands of the people watching it. They're like, we're going to handle real things. They really leaned on the persecution of mutants.
Okay.
And they didn't sugarcoat it. And they had this cool side storyline of, meanwhile, while everything's happening, Professor Xavier's in a coma, but there's also this other timeline 20 years later where Xavier's woken up and everything's ran by Sentinels, and he's trying to like run these mutants out of prison stuff. I was like, this is awesome. This is what I want as an X-Men fan. One season. And they said, nope.
One season.
Pull the plug on. I was like, anyways. So yeah, I'm not, there's a lot of people ask me about anime. I'm not an anime person. That I have no judgment against it, but I have a hard time getting into it. However, I do feel like I am an animation person, if that makes sense.
Right.
Anyway,
the animated genre in general, not specific parts of the medium, essentially.
Yeah, I'm a simp for comic book content. I took longer than you did, but I watched Invincible. I finally finished it. It's great. I bug PJ on a regular basis. We keep working on that. All right, let me pull up. So if you guys saw our thumbnail, we're going to get into basically our main topic now. I was hoping to do a little bit more research. Sean knows that we are probably the two most qualified people to tackle this conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
So Chad Stahelski, if you don't know, he is one of the two directors of the initial John Wick, and then continued on to do John Wick 2, 3, and it looks like on his slate and on his docket are 4 and 5. So he's just really running with what works for him.
I didn't know they announced a 5th.
I mean, it's IMDb, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
It's on there.
So
if they keep doing as well as they are, and Keanu doesn't die, makes sense,
right?
I thought he did Atomic Blonde, but that was actually David Leitch, who also did, because David Leitch and Chad are the two that did it, and they were former stuntmen. They worked
the
with
other half
on The Matrix. David went on to do Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Atomic Blonde.
Okay.
Chad, I don't know. I was looking at his IMDb, and it's just a lot of John Wick. So, anyways, the point that I was trying to make is Chad Stahelski will be doing. It's finally happening. They've been talking about it for decades. We're getting a Highlander reboot. It's got its director, and now it has its lead. And when we get to that point, usually the movies happen. Not always, though. I mean, look at The Crow. How many directors and lead actors has that project gone through? Or Gambit. But anyways, Henry Cavill, my boy. I got a pillowcase on my wall of Henry Cavill. Don't ask why. It was a birthday present. One of my favorite people. I think he's one of those actors that resonates with me when I watch. Like, you can put him side by side with other actors. He might not be the strongest actor, but for me, he always works in whatever he's put in. I think he's a fantastic Superman. I really enjoyed him in The Witcher. That's pretty much because I just like watching montages of him saying "fuck." But so that's a lot of fun.
Fuck.
Did you?
The whole show.
It is. It's the best part of the show. Have you seen Man from U.N.C.L.E., Guy Ritchie film?
I have, yes.
I enjoyed that as well.
Okay, your words are catching up with your face.
Henry Cavill's.
You're popping out here and there.
Happens when I reset my router.
Yeah, I like Henry Cavill and pretty much everything I've seen him in. He had a bit part in Stardust back in the day. I'm sure he has a lot more filmography I'm not currently aware of, but I saw bits and pieces of Immortals before he got maybe when he got cast as Superman. I went back and watched bits and pieces of Immortals. I don't remember liking the movie per se, but I think he was good in it. You could tell where they were going with Man of Steel. And then I thought he actually played a great villain too in Mission Impossible, which was fun. So
and then PLD's mustache run for its money.
Yes, with the shotgun arms. The meme that took over the internet for a year, or the GIF rather.
I love that was the image when it says that Highlander has found its lead. It was just him loading up, and I was like,
"What was it?"
Yeah, I was like, that's become his most iconic thing.
Apparently, yeah. And yeah, the mustache that ruined Justice League.
He could be so soft and kind, like in Man of Steel when he's in the Fortress of Solitude, sort of, and he's saving Lois from the machine, and he's like holding her, and he's like, all right, this is gonna hurt, and he tries to give her like a sympathetic face and stuff. I was like, that's heart melting. Like he is just one of the most charming men in the world. And then in The Witcher, I was like, I believe him as a total badass and an absolute jerk. Like he can sell both. So I love the idea of him being in Highlander. In honor of this news, I finally got around to watching the first half of Highlander last night. So I will get to it.
Just the first half.
Yeah, I don't know if I was more so watching it for this news or if it's because Christopher Lambert's Raiden is just one of my favorite cinematic characters. So it's fun to see him in another movie. And this is a conversation we have far too often. Just to give you a little bit of insight into the relationship of Mr. and Mrs. Jackal.
I feel like we need a moment alone with Henry.
I mean, you got the Superman poster back there.
Yeah, I do.
Just for the fans at home. There he is.
There he is.
Over me at all times. Absolutely zero emotions coming from Cavill in anything. He is very robotic to me. I can see certain performances where maybe you could feel that way, and I'm glad you brought up Stardust. Stardust is one of me and Lauren's favorite movies. I think he's a lot of fun. He hasn't been given a lot of films that require a lot of depth from him, so it's hard to say. I feel like Witcher, he was told to pretty much be pretty kind of one note. Superman, parts of it, I don't know. Maybe he can't do a lot of depth, but I do not think he's the most robotic actor out there.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, Brandy, but I think he has shown robotic parts of it. Sure, I think especially in BVS, he didn't have a lot to work with because I feel like it wasn't a Superman sequel. It was. I think that was Snyder's way of making a Batman movie, and so Superman got sidelined, and I hate that part about it because I'm more of a Superman fan, and so I think that's just my own bias coming out.
Buddy, we got things to talk about because I'm just right here. Thank you.
But in Geo, I didn't know he was in that. I saw the County Monte Cristo when it first came out on like VHS back in the day. But maybe it's worth a rewatch. Check out Cavill in it too. And I remember it being a good
watching
movie,
things just because of Henry Cavill stuff
now. But Highlander, so I'm not super familiar with Highlander. I have seen bits and pieces. I know the general story. I know it had a bunch of series as well as so many, 4, 5, 6 sequels or something like that. Like it had a ton of content that came afterwards. I think you just remember, was it Sean Connery's playing like Italian or a Spaniard?
Yeah, I was talking to PJ this morning. I was like, so who are we? I was like, how are we going to whitewash the Egyptian Spaniard this time around?
Hopefully not.
We were tossing some names around, and I said Oscar Isaac, but he said that's wishful thinking, just because he's like would actually fit the role, but he's probably too busy.
Who is Mr. Inner Geekdom competitor? Who played the terrorist group in Iron Man 1, the leader, bald guy? He was also in Star Trek 09 as one of the captains. And I can't think of I can see his face. I don't know his name.
I tell you right now, I don't know if I've ever known his name.
I think it's come up in a Shimoda. You should know that question. Let me look at
it. I forgot he was. Wait, was he the captain that relinquished control to Chris Hemsworth in the beginning? Yeah,
I believe so.
Right.
So that, and I'm gonna look him up because I think he is a fantastic actor, and I'd love to see him in more. If I can find.
Interesting. This just in: Brandy's moderator privileges just got revoked. So fascinating.
Oh no! His name is Ferran Tahir.
That sounds made up because it's like
all words are made
Ferran
up.
Tahir.
Well, I will post it over here so you can read it properly. But I think he's a great actor. I don't know the background, the ethnic backgrounds of Connery's character, other than he was a Spaniard. But yeah,
I think it's an interesting choice. What you may have done accidentally is I think he would be a really great choice for the villain. For the
Kurgan.
The Kurgan, yeah, I was gonna say the Kruger, but that's
the Kruger
franchise.
I know Clancy Brown because he's amazing, played the Kurgan, yes. But I don't know much about what his character was. I know just the bad guy.
Yeah, I greatly enjoy Clancy Brown. Now, maybe this is because I was tired, but I will say that I got an hour into the movie, and I know very little of what's happening. I am quite confused. And
there can be only one.
Yeah, that's consistent. I've picked that much up. My favorite thing, and one of my favorite things about like 80s movies and stuff is ADR. You know, when you can see that mouth start moving and there's like whole things of dialogues thrown in there, I was like, and I was looking at Lauren, I was like, this, whoops, here we go. Let's honor the man. This guy. Let's see this guy show up in alongside Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ADR is really, really rough. And then the transitions are non-existent. Like they'll be doing like a training montage thing, you know, and they'll be like on this cliff or something, and all of a sudden they're like in the forest, and it's like it's very eclectic and it's all over the place throughout everything. Scenes have no like comfortable ends. Like somebody will stop talking and then it's like, now we're over here. I'm like, where are we? I don't know what. It's very jarring. The movie is very jarring. But there's an element, there's like a story there. There's something that's interesting, kind of at the time, at least an original concept. So I can see where somebody's like, I can do that better. And that to me is the point of reboots and remakes, is don't do it unless you can improve it. A great example is Dredd. Dredd is why we have reboots.
Right. Playing off the Raid style, or I don't know the Dredd comics. I don't know the history of that, but McLeod, more.
That's just what we.
Maybe less of an act, maybe more true to the comic roots or whatever. In that case, in Dredd style, and from drastically improved. I think a lot of people love 60s, 70s, 80s movies because they have nostalgic memories of the stuff that they watched. Right. Whereas just the filmmaking, the technology wasn't there yet, but the stories have always been there. I mean, people are still, reading Shakespeare, hundreds of years old type of thing. The stories have always been there. It's just a matter of nowadays technology. We can do so much and improve upon worlds, and regardless of what you think about like Star Wars, Star Trek, like any of those genre of movies, they are objectively better made films now, better made movies, because you can actually put the time, effort, the money, the graphics, where you can see indistinguishable, like something like Avengers Endgame, like all of the characters and stuff. There's a few wonky CG parts, sure, but it looks real. Like you legit think Thanos is a real item. It's a real thing you could touch.
Thanos is an item.
That's going to be on a shirt. But you get that. If they can go back, a better filmmaker, Stahelski, and I enjoy all the Wick stuff. Him and David Leitch, very similar. You already mentioned that. They were a partner group.
I think we can make an assumption, right? Like with Chad Stahelski, they're going to lean into the action.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's going to be shot beautifully, because the John Wick films are shot nice.
Mm-hmm. Especially all the gun fu parts, the action sequences. There's a lot of like one shot, follow over the shoulder type sequences and stuff like that, and I think it'd look great.
I think it's going to be a pretty movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so this does not need to be Oscar caliber. I think you get Henry Cavill, you get some convincing action scenes, like, call it blasphemy, but I don't know if Christopher Lambert is the most compelling leading man out there. So sue me. So I feel like the bar isn't sometimes we lean on our nostalgia a little too much, and we put these bars out of control. People can say I did that for Mortal Kombat, but fight me. So yeah, I think that just make it good enough. Make an entertaining fantasy romp, because we could always use more of those. And they've been trying to reboot Highlander for decades.
Mm-hmm. They have a few times.
Ryan Reynolds was attached to it at one point.
Yeah, that's what I was reading the article. Ryan Reynolds as probably, I'm guessing, the lead. Justin Lin, I guess, behind the camera. There's been, what? I mean, yeah, it's jumped hands so many times. The one thing I was reading a Deadline article from Justin Kroll, is it reminded me that Cavill is in The Witcher on Netflix. He's also set to be in the sequel to Enola Holmes, also on Netflix. I wonder if this will be a Netflix movie.
Ooh.
Could also turn into a Netflix series if they wanted to have another fantasy-esque type title that they could own. I don't know who owns the rights to this, but that could be interesting.
I get mixed feelings. I always get excited. I'm like, yay, more Henry Cavill. I really enjoy Henry Cavill. But then every time something gets announced, I'm like, I'm never going to see him as Superman again, am I?
No, and that's the most upsetting part. Every single new project he gets announced for, further away from Superman. And he is I love Christopher Reeves, but I think Cavill is my favorite Superman. Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies. I'd say top 5. And yeah, it's a little upsetting.
It's in my top 5, buddy. It's in my top 5 comic book movies. It's actually, I have a flip between 1 and 2, and I get a lot of crap for it. Winter Soldier and Man of Steel are my top 2.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I think it's 4.
I mean, people put it in their like bottom 5. So like, as long as it's up in there, that gets me right here, buddy. It means the world. We'll have to do. I remember a few years ago I did a Man of Steel watch along, but I think I'm due for another one. I need to watch it with some people that'll fanboy out with me. I need that validation every so often.
Yeah,
because everyone just talks crap about it. I'm like, oh, you're nuts.
People are so hit or miss. They love it or hate, or they just hate it and thought it was too much action. I think it's not perfect, but it's like 9.5 out of 10. There are. I thought the Indian Ocean sequence was a little too long, and they could have done it just differently. But that's just me personally.
Gio says, if we don't hear anything about Henry Cavill's Superman of DC fandom in October, then that pretty much closes the door. Shake my head. And the other thing that seemed really damning is this recent news of the Superman movie being produced by J.J. Abrams that they're doing. Yeah. At first, when they're like, "Oh, we're casting a black Superman," I was like, "Okay, give me." There's certain bits of information that I'm still waiting on, and it sounds like they're doing Clark Kent, and I'm like, "No, we have a Clark Kent."
Yes.
Stop it. He was given Man of Steel, and then he was never given his chance after that, because Man of Steel is how he becomes Superman. And we never got our Superman movie.
Yeah, I agree. That was his origin. Absolutely.
And I agree with some of the people that complain that BVS is, at least for Superman's character, even in the Ultimate Edition, which is better, it's way too glum. People tell me that Man of Steel is too dark and depressing. I was like, it's actually not, or at least I don't feel like it is. I think it's very hopeful and optimistic. It's just, it's a struggle. It's an identity crisis. They confuse realistic character development for a godlike character with grim and gritty. I'm like, you're just used to tra-la-la-la, save a cat out of a tree.
Right.
And that's why I've never liked Superman growing up when I was really young. I never really connected with that version of him. And then Man of Steel came along, and I was like, I'm willing to give him another shot. And I started picking up some comics. Superman Earth 1 is really good. And there's a lot of inspiration that Man of Steel took from that comic. If you read that comic, you're like, oh, they literally looked at this comic when they made that movie. So yeah, big fan of Henry Cavill. Looking forward to this. I will finish watching Highlander, probably just the first one before this one comes out. I've heard
you're not going to watch all 6 movies and 3 TV series that they launched.
3 TV series. Oh my god,
that's what it said in this article. I don't remember the 3 series, but yeah,
I don't either. But when I'll just take my feelings about the movie so far, and when somebody tells me that the second one's unwatchable, I was like, oh, the second one's unwatchable. Okay, then no, I'm not. I will stop here.
Okay, 4 sequels. So there was 5 movies and 3 television series, unless they're just saying seasons as series, because I know they do that in England, including starring Adrian Paul. And I think that was the dark-haired guy. I don't know how top of my head. But yeah, that's hilarious. there's a lot. There's so much Highlander, more than you could want.
All right. Well, that actually, look at that. I even tried to stretch things out a little bit. And we still kept it under an hour. Good job.
Hey, we still kept it. I agree with Gio though. October is going to be key for Cavill as Superman because they've got, I mean, it's been so long. They got to announce something. And Dwayne Johnson's company, was it Garcia Management?
Danny Garcia, right?
The Garcia companies, they have the same manager. Danny Garcia is The Rock's agent as well. And they've had conversations
together.
Yeah, wow, The Rock has been throwing things on Instagram forever, for years, since they I think right around the same time that Cavill teased the whole black suit originally, before the Justice League came out. And they've been, hey, let's share some tequila together. They've been throwing that around on Instagram, so you could tell they're there. And I would love for Cavill to show up in Black Adam somehow, like a post credit, like to lead up to a sequel. Well, I mean, he should be fighting Shazam, but I'm not writing the movies, so who knows?
until they give me a concrete, we're done with this. Because remember when they had that really vague announcement, like, oh, we don't have any plans right now. And then Harry's like, well, I'm not done. And it was just like this really convoluted what's happening. It's still convoluted to me. The only glimmer of hope I have with this new Clark Kent that they announced is they said it's going to be a period piece. I was like, okay, this is something else.
Right. I think so. It's not going to be on Earth. It's in the main universe.
Right. And it sounds like they're starting to entertain more and more doing these original concepts like Joker. Batman's supposed to be a standalone. The Superman looks like it's going to be a standalone. I was like, okay. So it looks like you're still clinging onto fabrics of your DCEU. You're making a Flash movie. You're making Aquaman 2. All right. Bring Henry back. Like,
right.
Because he's a working actor. He's not going to stand for just being ignored all the time. So that's why he keeps taking all these other roles.
And the writer set to write it, Carrie Williamson, I looked her up. She doesn't have a lot of writing credits. She wrote Alex Cross, or she was part of Alex Cross, which is Tyler Perry and Matthew Fox movie, thriller back in the day. Did you ever see What Happened to Monday on Netflix?
I did not.
That was an interesting movie. And it was basically about a clone. They weren't twins. They were clones. And there was like 7 of them. So they had one day, but they weren't allowed. Like the world is like post-apocalyptic or something. The world was not allowed to have more than one kid or something like that. So they had to share a day. So each of the girls got to leave the house one day a week. And then the crux of the movie is what happened to Monday. So one of them never came home. And so they all had different personalities and stuff like that. And they had to learn, and it was very interesting. I don't remember what was her name. Very
interesting concept from
Numi Rapace played all 7 of the different characters, and she played it really well. I really like that movie. So if she was the main writer, Carrie Williamson, if she was the main writer on that movie and she's writing this, it could be very interesting. Could be a thriller. It could have some intrigue, some backstory type stuff like that. I think it adds an element to the movie for sure.
Not that I ever look for cheap filmmaking or anything, but I think Highlander is a property where I'm not going to be overly critical on the writing.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me good enough. Like, looking at Chad Stahelski movies, is the writing of John Wick the most inspirational thing in the world? No. But is it serviceable for the, like the concept of the film and getting the story from A, B through C? I think so. And they have the cool thing is they have lore in those movies. Even if the writing's not the best, there's interesting enough things to keep you invested in the property.
I think
hopefully
proper expectations.
Yes. I feel like I will be a great wait for PJ because he's going to be like so excited. I'm like, bring it down.
Don't yuck his yum. Don't.
That's
Let him be excited.
Okay. Well, with that is our last topic. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, Sean, and let me give you an opportunity to strut your stuff. Where can the people find you?
Hey, hit me up at down here watching with Wingblade on YouTube, and we will be kicking back into gear with next weekend sometime. I don't have an exact date and time yet. We're going to do a series review of Mighty Ducks Game Changers from Disney Plus, and probably a little retro review of the movies themselves. And then is it the week after? The week after that? I don't know. Whenever Loki starts up, we're going to be hopping back on and doing actually live watch-along review type things. We're still trying to work that out, figure out how to not get DMCA'd and get our video taken down while we're doing it. But I think I'm thinking of something fun. I need to do some experimentation with making sure we don't get in trouble. Also, hit me up on Twitch. I'm actually so close to hitting that like 50 followers mark where I can become an affiliate. And I don't know what other factors that gives me. Do it. I'd appreciate it. YouTube and Twitch.
Right there, we got Twitter.
Hey, Brandy with the links.
And then that looks like that is your the YouTube.
Yeah.
So
sure. I don't get a custom URL yet. I'm nowhere near 100 subscribers.
Get them up to everybody right now. Go in the chat. Even if you gotta leave the stream, click on Wingblades YouTube channel. And I also got some weird noise. Click on the YouTube channel and get him to 100 subscribers so that he can have a professional looking channel URL because that's
exciting. Many more to go.
And then we can have 100 subscriber party on the
Wingblade we'll have another
that
one.
Sounds like a good time. Yeah, I'm gonna be on somebody else's. Be a lot less stressful. It'll be a good time.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and then also twitch.tv/watching with Wingblade. Get that going. For me, one of the main places you can find me is right here, where you are, and that's either YouTube or you might be on Facebook right now. But it is flick-in-reel or dash hyphens dashes Flick and Reel, the Flick and Reel fan cast. That's where you can find us. And also on Twitter, you can find me at Jesse Swift, like it says down here. And you see that says the Jackal. That is because I am a competitor in the Inner Geekdom division of the movie Trivia Schmodown. There is one match out there. We're looking forward to announcements here in the near future, I hope. But until then, you can find me right here in June. We're looking at starting to do 2 to 3 shows a week. One of them being this one right here, which is News and Views on Saturday mornings. It'll be earlier than this. We're looking at about 9 a.m. And then at 10 a.m., you will be seeing this pretty face next to me once again on Shark Jumpers. We're going to be starting that at the end of this month. Shark Jumpers is going to essentially be anytime there's been a movie, show, video game franchise, or maybe an overall actor's career that you were following for a while, big fan of, and then it jumped the shark and nobody knows what the hell happened. We are going to be investigating those stories together. So that'll be a lot of fun. Mike Deacon will be joining us for that first episode. Also, we will be doing Loki reviews as well, mostly just to go toe-to-toe in competition with Watching with Wingblade. That's the plan. So yeah, those are the 3 channels, or the three channels, the 3 shows that we will be doing, and eventually perhaps more, but this is going to be an experiment. Hopefully this is the last boring layout you get. We're going to spice things up. It's going to be really spicy. It's going to be great stuff. So Sean, thank you so much for joining me. Sorry for the chaos. Rolled out of bed. We did our best.
We did. It was fun.
All right.
We got to chat about it. It's the same shit we've been talking about all week too. So
that's
just turn the camera on. Why not?
So until next time, guys, keep it real. And we've been Jesse and Sean.